Okay, so I'm going to take this chance to show you a few tricks, kind of formatting tricks for documents. I'm in Google Docs right now. There are pretty similar formatting situations you can use in Microsoft Word, but I quite like Google Docs, and so I'll show you in that version. This is a document that I used as a publication a while back, so I trimmed it down a little bit to make it easier for us to work with here, but it's mostly as it was in that document. And I want to kind of show you, this starts off looking like some of the papers I get from students, and I hope we can maybe clean this up a little bit. So one of the first things I would recommend is to double space. So I can do an select alls. On the keyboard, that's a Control A, or on a Mac, that's Command A. Select everything. That's also on the edit menu. Select all, I've already done that, so Control plus A. Everything gets highlighted. Then I can go up to this one with the lines and the arrow showing the spacing and double spacing there. For this course, you're turning in things electronically, so we don't have to worry about how much paper it takes up. I'm not asking you for length in terms of number of pages, so you don't have to make your lines super spaced to make things look bigger. The main reason for this kind of improves readability. If you did happen to have a printed out version, this gives you more space to write in. I think it's just kind of a good general format. I do this one sometimes for my own writing. I do the 1.5 spacing, but this one's pretty good. We got the left justified. So this one here is the align and indent, the justification. Everything's aligned on the left and then just free to move over on the right. That's visually, I think that's fine. Some people like doing this left and right justified. I don't love it so much, but it's up there if you need it. Certainly not centered. The title I have as centered justification, and that's kind of typical. Title and author are on there centered, but otherwise you just want to have things left justified. As far as paragraphs, students often would like to indent and then they do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something like that in indenting. The issue with that is you've got to do that over and over and over again, whereas you could do it once for everybody, or at least maybe as you're getting started. Um, Using these features up in the ruler. If this doesn't show, I think sometimes you have to do like a view ruler option. Show ruler, I think I have that on mine as default. So in the view menu, show ruler, and then there are these little grabber things. If you grab the top one and pull it over to 0.5 inches, then that'll indent things. And that gets carried forward to every paragraph after that. I've got it where the title for this section, the introduction title, is not indented. Um, Down here, it didn't carry forward, but if I had highlighted them both, it would. Another way to do that is to delete and then do enter. And you'll notice that as I have a new paragraph entered in here, it carries forward that formatting and will also be indented. So that if you do that from the start of your writing, every paragraph you make is going to be indented, and that'll save you some time. Just a big time saver overall. And also, if you ever end up submitting these to a journal, they quite like that as well. So if you have the spacing indents, people don't love those as much. All right, so that. One of the things you can do that I'm actually kind of recent to on myself. I don't know if how it exists in Microsoft Word, but on Google Docs it's pretty easy. I've got the cursor in the introduction label here, and this section says normal text, and if I put my mouse over it, it says styles. And I can change this to title, heading, etc. Um, if you put this as heading 1, that's a heading of a certain category. It's got an automatic formatting where it makes it really big. I don't know if I love that so much, but what it does after you put it in like this is it starts indexing it in the um, tab off to the side here. So if I use this little show tabs and outlines button, now I've got a link to introduction, and maybe you can see where this is going. If I have another section down here, and I also call that heading 1 category, Now materials and methods is a section, and I can click on introduction and go back to introduction. I can click on materials and methods and go down to materials and methods. Subsection, you can do that at a heading 2, and you see it's indented a little bit, 2.1. Let's see over here, we've got another at the same level, 2.2. I'm going to make that a heading 2 category. So you can kind of see how these are um, populating in over there. And if you did have a big paper, this is kind of a big paper, um, allows you to jump around through your sections and make edits. All right, let's see. While we're doing more formatting stuff, going down to the literature cited or the references section, you can also make that a category that you can click on as a link. I guess I've already got these formatted. I meant to undo that. We'll see how it goes. There we go. So you can paste in the formatting. We'll go back and I'll show you that again in a little bit here. But if you paste it in like this, it's not clear where one of these ends and the next one begins. A good way to do the formatting on this is to have it as a indent where the second and following lines come in, but the original line stays out. So to do that, I got to pull everybody over to a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to pull the top one back to 0. And what that does is it makes the beginning of this entry the farthest to the left, and then every other line after that is going to come in a little bit. So I can see the indexing of the names by the author's names, and that'll go through. I could make that the formatting for the whole references section. As far as references in the text, sometimes we get some issues about that. So if you have a single author that you are citing, let's see, I had one. Here's one. So Kian 1999. The last name of the first author, or in this case, the only author, and then the year of publication. The comma there is kind of optional. That's a formatting preference. I'll just tell you that there's lots of different ways to do the formatting. The information is the same. Basically, you need the certain information for these citations. Whether you've got them with a comma or no comma is much less important and won't matter for me for this course. So Kian 1999, if I do a copy, find, search by that name, now I've got Kian H 1999, and then the full citation for that one. So that's basically the purpose of that, is to have a brief little signpost to tell you where to find the full information. So I've made a statement in here about species being distributed in certain parts of the world, and this is the source for that information. So we've talked before about having citations for statements of fact. So you give credit to the person, and then in the references section, you connect that to the full publication, which is basically the evidence. So you're not just praising a person for getting some data, you're also essentially showing people how to find the original data in a very true science kind of fashion, is that we want to see the evidence, right? Okay, so there's that. If you have two authors for a publication, it's just and, one and the other. Müller and Bosch here. Some people use the ampersand instead of and. Not important to me which way you do it that way. I just like the word and. I guess that tends to show up more in papers that I'm working on. And then 3 or more authors, I like the et al. So that's also places where I publish. This is the format that they prefer. So it's 3 or more authors. It's the name of the last name of the first author. And then et al. Is Latin for and alie, or and others, basically. So et al. Is a short way to say that. The et doesn't get a period. The al is an abbreviation, so it gets a period. And then we've got the comma there. That's kind of optional for the citation. And then we could search this one up too. Copy, find, Vestamaya et al. too many. It's down here somewhere in the references section. All right, that person got a lot of credit. Da, 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 da. All right, so Vesterma et al. Year 2017. So this cites all the authors. Just for space saving issues, it doesn't show all the authors for the in-text citation. Okay, a couple more things while we're on the formatting. One of those is abbreviations. So I have one of these abbreviations here. There's a gene region called ITS that I use for these phylogenetic studies. You want to be able to use your abbreviation, that's fine. ITS is a nice short way of saying it, but basically the first time you use it, you need to spell out what the abbreviation means. So here I have it, internal transcribed spacer, comma, ITS. Another way to do that would be to say the internal transcribed spacer, ITS is one way to do it, or you could do it kind of the flip way where you do the abbreviation and then say what it means. So the ITS parenthesis internal transcribed spacer. Again, just you're creating a brief way for people to connect the dots of what these abbreviations mean. Unless it's something very simple definitions like DNA is something you can basically get away without spelling out the abbreviation. But a lot of these you just want to use make sure you spell them out for your reader if there's any doubt. And then kind of related to the um, abbreviations are scientific names. So this was a paper studying plants called bladderworts, and their genus name is Utricularia. And um, in the abstract, I've got the genus name here and the genus name here. And then later on, I mention the first species, and I just say U. So U inflata, basically to the reader of this paper, they know I'm talking about a genus of plants, Utricularia. I haven't introduced any other plant species, so there's no ambiguity for what U would stand for. So it's okay to do U inflata. Even though I haven't talked about this species before, we are talking about the genus, and people would be able to figure out that that's what that's supposed to be. Same thing here. Here's another species, Utricularia radiata, Utricularia macrorhiza. Not relevant to what you'll be writing in this class, but the abstract is kind of its own entity besides the rest of it. So um, you also end up sort of introducing things again in the introduction, the body of the scientific paper. All right, I think that's what I wanted to cover for this one. So let's call it a video. Thanks.